Hello and welcome to Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lunar and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is a horoscope for Libra. If Libra is your solar, lunar, ascendant / rising sign, then this is a message for you. All right, let's get started. And so this is a bonus reading for Libra, and our card tonight is the Emperor. This is from the Tarot of the Abyss deck. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and look and see what these tea leaves have to say tonight. And if you have not subscribed yet, please think about doing that. You can hit the little bell. It'll let you know when the next readings are coming out. It is free to subscribe. Okay, so weird. My last reading we had, look, J-I-M. So I have Gem again, and my last reading was Aquarius. So, another gem or the same. I don't know what is going on. So there's two gems and two readings. But yes, J-I-M. That is wild. Okay. So I see 22 in here, 22. But I also see, I'm looking at this as kind of almost the side profile. It looks like the moon, like a crescent moon, but it looks like a, if you remember Ren and Stimpy, the cartoon, like kind of a little bit of a grotesque character of the man on the moon here. And then we kind of have this sad face up here, and then down here we have another one right there, and then also it is another face right here. So it's just multiple, there's just all these kind of, I don't know, kind of upset looking faces. I'm looking. And here we have, it looks like a deer wearing a robe. So I almost kind of think of like maybe a high priest or priestess. But I feel like there's been this period of time where it almost feels like you have all of these different energies in your life, but I feel like it's like almost your emotionality. You're in all these different moods and having like kind of big emotions that are changing quickly. Now we have that lunar energy, so I almost kind of feel like it has something to do with being in a place of almost you know, like an illusion of the mind, right? I feel like you're looking at these situations in your life, and from your perspective, they look much different than they might to other people that are involved, or, you know, how other people perceive the situation is quite different. And in a lot of ways, I think that this is like kind of causing you a lot of stress and maybe even feeling, like I said, pretty upset, maybe kind of depressed, you know, a little bit of anger. And I feel there's just it has very little to do with anything that's going on, and I feel more to do with this feeling of kind of just, it feels like a dysregulation of emotions, and a lot of it I think has to do with maybe being out of your routine, or your routine is not working for you anymore. Maybe even lacking sleep. Maybe you've been very busy, or you have insomnia. You are not sleeping that well, and it's really starting to wear on you. And I think that you get into these places where you know, feeling very affected by you know, your state of being, but then these outside things coming up, really your reaction maybe is more than it usually would be. And so I do feel like there's a sense of really wanting to kind of employ that Emperor energy and kind of really get things tidied up for yourself. Get back to sleeping as much as you can, as well as you can, as much as, you know, your time and ability allots for. Trying to kind of look at things more clearly, more objectively, you know, look at all of the factors and try not to make any judgments or decisions about what's happening, not going to worst case scenario every time. And I think that, you know, this is something that happens to all of us. We all kind of go through these periods of time, and it's when we begin to catch ourselves and think, okay, I got to do something about this because I'm getting really worn down, and I've you know, maybe I've been kind of annoyed a lot lately, snappy, frustrated, crying, you know, distant and kind of dissociative in a way, whatever it is, and like cycling through these things. And so I feel like there is this real, you know, you're catching yourself, and what can I do here? What needs to be done? What plan do I need to come up with so I can kind of get this sorted out? So I'm getting back to a place where I'm feeling more myself and feeling, you know, not so all over the place, right? And so this work begins, and now we have that kind of the deer priest, or the wilderness priest or priestess, and this is to me a very powerful and primal sign. It is not really that much unlike this emperor you can see with his kind of ram's horns there, but I do feel like there's a sense of so with these wilderness deities, there's often, you know, a perception of wildness, chaos, and succumbing to base desires and instincts, and that's part of it. But I think also, you know, there is this powerful current of staying about the work, okay, having a strong tie to origin, okay, being close to the earthen energy or element, and also allowing yourself to be whatever you are in the moment, you know, and trying not to be too hard on yourself, because really I feel when we start to overly judge ourselves, when we start to really come down on ourselves, now this is not the same as holding ourselves accountable. This is like applying shame and guilt too often, maybe. And so these wilderness energies, intelligences, kind of you know, anyways, how I perceive it is that doesn't really exist, right? It's kind of just like, does the cat feel guilty about what the cat's doing? Not really, right? They know when they're in trouble, and they know, you know, when they're being told don't do that. But I don't know that they feel guilty as we feel guilty. So it's kind of like that. And so, you know, in some way I think that this is a freedom, because when we do overly guilt ourselves and shame ourselves, somehow we get more locked into our behavior more often than not. And I've talked about the fact that I am in recovery for substance abuse, and I myself trying, you know, over the years, when I was still in my active addiction, trying to find a way to get myself to stop, right? Nobody could do it for me. Nobody could tell me. I would have to figure that out for myself. And when I was always feeling so guilty and shameful about my behaviors and the way I was treating people and the things I was saying and doing and whatever, that wasn't what got me into recovery. What got me into recovery is finally coming to myself with empathy and looking at myself and saying, you know, baby, nobody is going to save you. You know, nobody's going to save you except for yourself. And even if there were somebody here to save you, you know, would you take that blessing? Probably not, you know. And so having the empathy, allowing myself to be who I was and find my way into a different, you know, part of my being, you know, letting go of the grip I had on that persona, that part of my, that archetype that I was living in, you know, and felt it was terrible, but it felt like home, because I grew up around addicts, and I didn't know much different ultimately. And so letting go of, you know, whatever idea we have about what we're doing and allowing ourselves to put it down, you know, that's so important. And I feel like that wilderness energy, that kind of, you know, living by their own instinct, living in a place of, you know, quick and furious movement at time, but also slow and aged, right? You can think of the wilderness entities, the wood, right? They're very aligned with the wood element, and going slowly over the span of millennia, right? And so, you know, it is kind of this duality that somehow we figure out how to balance, and that is a freedom. It allows us to open those doors for ourselves, to make the changes that we want to see in our life. But, you know, bullying yourself into making any kind of changes, I don't know that really works. Maybe it does for some people. You know, I remember one time, and I know people say I talk about myself a lot here, but I like to share my experience because I want you to kind of feel where I'm coming from. And I also want you to know me because I feel like, you know, I've related to so many people through this channel. I've gotten to know a lot of people, and it's such a blessing to me. So anyways, I remember meeting this drug counselor, you know, and I've been in recovery for almost 10 years now, but this was like a couple of years before I got into recovery this last time. And he came at me with this real, you know, some people need that almost like military, cop policing you type of energy, you know, kind of like breaking you down to build you up kind of deal. And I absolutely don't respond to that. I do not like that kind of, I don't like it. It is so abrasive and it feels abusive, and, you know, I'm too sensitive for that kind of energy from anybody for any reason. But I remember being, you know, it was eye-opening to me that, yeah, maybe that does work for some people. So I should, you know, I shouldn't say that it's not the right thing for all. Some people need like that firm, tough love or whatever you call it. I don't, for me, it doesn't work. I don't need to be scared or yelled at or, you know, belittled into getting better, or doing something in my life. That does not work for me. It makes me want to escape. And so, you know, I'm looking at this and I'm feeling like it's like, you know, loving on yourself, giving yourself that kind of support that actually, you know, it helps you kind of loosen the constraints that you're in, because you are valuing your well-being. And so, you know, I think some real kindness here will go a long way. Absolutely. Okay. This one almost kind of looks like a pan figure. You can see the eye, the nose, the mouth, kind of the beard and the hair. And so it really is this kind of out there in the woods kind of energy. And maybe you are. Maybe you're going out to the woods soon. Maybe you are somebody who is, you know, really into being in the wilderness. But I do feel this kind of, this sense of kind of the shackles being taken off and not really knowing what to do at first. But, you know, getting into a place where you will make use of this kind of change, this shift in your life. And I keep feeling like it's like I'm getting back on track. I'm getting back on track. And I do. I love that for you. It feels good to like be in a place of kind of deviating from the norm for a while. But I don't know, for me, I can't live like that all the time. I can't live without a routine or whatever, because I just, you know, I get lost in myself, and you know, I start making bad decisions really, or I'm just super lazy about life and nothing gets done. And that's just the reality of things for old Lenore over here. Okay, let's go over here. We're going to take a look. We're going to take a look at this one. Oh, we have a house. Okay, we have a house, and it is beneath the moon. And we have a person here with their arms up. We have the lunar cycles. My goodness, a lot of lunar energy in my readings tonight. So I kind of, well, of course, you are very affected by the moon cycles, and that is very apparent. Especially if you are somebody who menstruates or have, you know, you have at some point. And I'm only talking about this because of my own personal experience with it. But I do think that you are somebody who is like very affected by the correlation of the moon cycles and, you know, the functions of your body if you are post, you know, menstruation or not. You know, I think that it is something that it's very profound. And, you know, for me, interestingly, I you know, I knew that I definitely align with moon cycles in both ovulation and menstruation, but I until I was like, I've been following, you know, my cycles in the last 5 years, a lot, you know, like really paying attention to it more than I ever have, and realizing that ovulation is much more potent for me than you know, whatever, the menstruating part. And so, you know, and it changes too. It has changed over time, depending on like life events and things. But it's interesting when you come to this knowing about yourself, you know, because I think it's not something we all understand. And even if you're somebody who, like, I've been involved in magic and occult things since I was, you know, in my late teens, early 20s. And you would think that I would have a little more self-awareness with these aspects of the work. But I absolutely, it took me, you know, I was around what, like 33, 34, 35, around there. And so, you know, we do sometimes become initiated at different points in our life where we are very aware of these functions, and their, you know, external counterparts. And so I look at this and, you know, this part might not be for you at all. And, you know, I apologize if that's the case, but, you know, on some level it might be something else, right? But when we can really start to look at how everything is so mirrored in this universe, there is truly such a fractal sense of everything fitting together. Everything is everything, right? And it all flows into itself. And as we really experience that kind of as above, so below, so within, so without, on a practical level, it's like mind-blowing, isn't it? And so I'm just looking at this, and then I'm looking at, looks like the flowers here, growing, this garden growing, and just I can imagine like the psyche is just flourishing, blooming in full bloom. And then we have the household beneath the moon. Okay, so I do feel like there is a sense of almost like a surreal energy or nature within the home. Kind of almost feel like things are so different recently than they had been for, you know, however long. It suddenly is, it just seems like bizarro world in some ways. And I feel like there's a sense of really wanting to I want to find home again. I want to go home again. I want to go home again. And, you know, trying to figure out, like, is that a place? Is that a feeling? Is that, you know, some kind of impression that I'm looking for? Is it a person? Is it, you know, and searching. And, you know, and I think that this is a worthy pursuit to figure out, where are your homes? Where do you feel like this is it, I belong in this place? Now, it maybe isn't the only home within your life, but it is one of them. And I do, excuse me, and I do, my allergies are out of control, and I had to take some allergy medicine earlier, so I'm so dry, so excuse me, my voice is like giving out. So looking for those places, you know, and you know when you're there, you just do. And so it's something that we all do, if it's conscious or not. But I feel like this is a very conscious period of exploration for you, and one that I think is most welcomed. I feel like you really feel like this is meaningful work. It is a place where, you know, I don't feel like it seems like a waste of time, you know. This is something that you're not lamenting so much. I think that there is, you know, an underlying, maybe, I don't know, like almost that kind of lost child syndrome that we all have a little bit of. And it, for whatever reason, it feels like it's kind of, you know, pretty potent. But I think that, you know, you hear yourself and you feel the feelings, and there's a sense of, okay, I want to honor this feeling, these feelings and this energy, and I want to do something for it. And so you are the traveler, the emperor, you know, the forest spirit, the devotee of the lunar, and so on. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the Wild Bohemian affirmation cards. These are the fire element. And I'm just going to go ahead and we will flip through them and stop where it feels right. Okay. Okay, I love these cards, these decks that I've been using. They have the most beautiful paintings. Okay, so this one goes like this, and it says, I am soulful. You have the heart strength to give love freely. You are wise to be lighthearted. You are wise to be lighthearted. I don't think of a Libra person as being very lighthearted. But I think that maybe you strive for it. And especially in like social relationships, I think that Libra people often don't want to come off as being like too overbearing or too serious or too unagreeable or emotional or whatever. And maybe that's not this, you know, maybe that's not the same as trying to pursue like a lightheartedness. But I do feel like, you know, there are times where you probably, you know, you kind of present a more lighthearted appearance. And I don't know, maybe that's something you are striving for. I don't know that I relate to that though. I feel like I'd like to be, but I'm a Virgo, and it's like everything is so heavy. It has to be intricate and heavy and involved, and you know, it's like, and listen, I always say Libra is so much, it's very much like Virgo and Libra are so kin, and obviously they're right next to each other, so it flows into one another. But yeah, definitely. I think Libra is a way more agreeable version of a Virgo, though. Not to talk poorly about my Virgo people, but I said what I said, right? All right, Libra, I'm going to go ahead and tell you I love you because I do, and I thank you so much for spending this time with me. It is always such an honor to be able to bring these messages to you. And if you would be so kind as to like the video, it really does help the channel so much. And if you have not subscribed yet, please think about doing that. You can hit the little bell. It'll let you know when the next readings are coming out. And it is free to subscribe. If you would like to leave a comment, please think about doing that. You can hit that little bell. It'll let you know when the next readings are coming out. Oh no, that's whoa. I absolutely... This is what happens when I am thinking about something else at the same time as when I'm talking. I can't do two things at once very well. So anyways, yes, leave a comment. I read them. They mean the world to me. They won't tell you when anything's coming out. But yeah, I just, now I'm tripping over my words, but I absolutely feel like one of the big blessings of doing this channel has been getting to know all of these lovely people who come here and share their stories and you know, are just very sweet and kind to not only myself but to each other. And you know, I don't know, my mind is blown, right? When I started doing the channel, I was super afraid that there was just going to be tons of mean comments. And yeah, sometimes I'll bring up when somebody says something, you know, mean or weird or like overly critical or whatever. I know I do. I have to talk it out sometimes, but it's not that often, not as much as I thought it was going to be. And I'm really surprised about it. Most of the internet is a garbage fire, and it feels really good to have like a community of people that are just like open-hearted and you know, it's not even about being nice. It's about, there's a kindness to it. There's a kind of a shared lifting of one another, and I'm here for that energy. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I love you as well. And so I will say again, thank you. We'll talk in a few days, and I'm going to bed. So good night. Good night. Good night. Good night.